"Sir, why do you always sit here alone?" the boy asked, softly, tugging at his mother's sleeve. The question did not sound loud. It was not meant to be. It was the kind of question children ask without knowing they are stepping on something fragile. The man did not answer right away. The park was quiet that afternoon, wrapped in early December stillness. Snow had not fallen yet, but the cold had settled in. Bare branches reached toward a gray sky. A few benches lined the path, most of them empty. Too cold for lingering, too early for Christmas crowds. The man sat on the same bench he always chose, the one closest to the old lamppost. His coat was buttoned high, his gloves neatly folded in his lap. He looked like someone who valued order, routine, control. He came here every day at the same time, 4:30 p.m., never earlier, never later. People passed him often, joggers, dog walkers, parents rushing children home before dark. Most did not notice him. Those who did rarely looked twice. He didn't look sad. That was the strange part. He simply looked present, still, like someone waiting for something that might or might not arrive. "Sir?" the boy repeated. The man finally turned his head. The child couldn't have been older than 7. His jacket was zipped crookedly. One mitten hung loose from his wrist. In his hands, he held a small stuffed dog, its fabric worn thin, one ear bent permanently to the side. His eyes were wide, curious, not afraid. Behind him stood his mother. She looked tired in the way adults get when they carry more than they say. Her coat was too thin for the weather, the hem frayed. A scarf wrapped twice around her neck, as if she were trying to make it another winter. She gave the man an apologetic smile and gently pulled her son closer. "I'm sorry," she said quietly. "He asks questions." The man nodded once. "That's all right." His voice was calm, low, steady. The boy glanced back at his mother, then at the man again. "You don't have to answer," he added quickly. "I was just wondering." The man studied him for a moment. "Why were you wondering?" he asked. The boy shrugged. "You're always here, every day, even when it's cold." The man looked back toward the path, toward the empty stretch of park ahead of him. "Yes," he said, "I suppose I am." The woman shifted her weight, embarrassed. "We should go," she said softly to her son. "It's getting dark." The boy hesitated. "Okay," he said, though he didn't sound convinced. As they turned away, the boy glanced back one last time. "Sir?" he called. The man looked again. "You don't have to sit alone, if you don't want to." The words landed gently, almost kindly. Then the boy was gone, his hand swallowed up in his mother's coat sleeve as they disappeared down the path. The man stayed where he was. For a long moment, he did not move. Then he exhaled slowly, as if he had been holding his breath without realizing it. He checked his watch, 4:37. Still time. His name was Daniel Mercer. At least that was the name printed on his business cards, the name people used in meetings, on emails, on articles written about companies he had helped grow. Daniel Mercer was a man who solved problems. He had built a life around efficiency, around logic, around results. Waiting was not something he was known for, except here, this bench, this hour, every December without fail. He had started coming years ago. At first, it had been accidental, a walk after work, a moment of air before going home to an apartment that echoed too loudly when he was alone. Then it became a habit, then a promise. He did not tell anyone about it. There were things you didn't explain, not because they were secret, but because, once spoken, they lost something, their shape, their weight. Daniel adjusted his gloves and looked at the lamppost beside him. It flickered on, casting a warm circle of light over the bench. He remembered another light like this one, years ago. He had been 9 the first time his father didn't show up. It was December then, too. Cold enough that Daniel's breath came out in white clouds as he stood on the same path, feet shifting in shoes that pinched his toes. They were supposed to meet here. His father had said it clearly. 4:30, he'd told him, by the lamppost. Daniel nodded. He always nodded. His father was a man of schedules, precision. You didn't miss times. You didn't forget commitments. Daniel waited. He watched the path, counted footsteps, pretended not to notice the way other children were pulled into warm coats and hurried away. 4:30 passed, then 4:45, then 5 o'clock. The lamppost flickered on, and Daniel's hands were numb despite the gloves. A woman had stopped once, asking if he was lost. "No," Daniel said quickly. "I'm waiting." She frowned, glanced around, then walked away. Eventually, a park worker told him it was time to go home. Daniel hadn't cried. He didn't cry often. He just nodded again and followed the man out of the park. His father never explained. Not that night, not later. They simply never talked about it. Years passed. Life filled in the silence the way it always does. But Daniel remembered, and every December he came back, just in case. The sound of footsteps pulled him from the memory. He looked up. The woman from earlier was returning, her son walking beside her, slower this time. "I hope this isn't strange," she said, stopping a few steps away. "He insisted on coming back." The boy held out his stuffed dog. "I wanted to show you. He's missing an ear, but he's still my favorite." Daniel smiled faintly. "He looks well loved." The boy beamed at that. "He is." The woman hesitated, then gestured toward the empty end of the bench. "Do you mind?" she asked. Daniel nodded. "Please." They sat, not too close, not too far. For a moment, none of them spoke. The lamppost hummed softly above them. "My name is Rachel," she said, "and this is Noah." Daniel inclined his head. "Daniel." Noah swung his legs, the stuffed dog resting in his lap. "Do you come here for Christmas?" he asked. Daniel considered the question. "Yes," he said, "in a way." Rachel glanced at him, curious but not pressing. "We usually pass through on our way home," she said. "Noah likes the lights." "They're not up yet," Noah said seriously, "but soon." "Yes," Daniel agreed, "soon." Noah leaned closer. "Are you waiting for someone?" he asked. Rachel opened her mouth, ready to redirect the question. Daniel answered first. "I was," he said. The boy tilted his head. "Are they late?" Daniel smiled, though it didn't quite reach his eyes. "Very." Noah thought about that. Then he scooted a little closer. "Well," he said, holding out his stuffed dog, "you can sit with us while you wait." Daniel looked at the toy, then at the child, then at the space between them that felt suddenly smaller. "All right," he said quietly. "I'd like that." They did not plan to stay long. That was what Rachel told herself as she settled onto the bench. Just a few minutes, enough for Noah to feel satisfied, enough to be polite. But minutes have a way of stretching when no one is in a hurry. The cold crept in slowly, the kind that doesn't bite, just settles. Noah leaned closer to her, absent-mindedly pressing the stuffed dog against his chest. Daniel noticed. He shifted slightly, angling his coat just enough so the lamppost blocked the wind from their side. Rachel saw it too. "Thank you," she said quietly. Daniel nodded, as if it were nothing worth mentioning. Noah traced the seam of the toy's ear with his thumb. "My dad used to bring me here," he said suddenly. Rachel stiffened for a half-second. Daniel did not look away. "He did?" Daniel asked. Noah nodded. "He said the lights made everything look nicer, even sad stuff." Rachel swallowed. "He doesn't anymore," Noah added, not accusing, just stating a fact. Daniel understood that tone. "Yes," he said. Sometimes people stop coming. Noah frowned, thinking, did your dad stop coming too? The question hung between them. Rachel was about to interrupt, to redirect, to soften it. But Daniel answered. Yes, he said simply. He did. Noah accepted that. He leaned back, satisfied with the honesty. That's okay, the boy said after a moment. You're still here. Daniel felt something tighten in his chest. Rachel watched his face, noticing the way his jaw set, the way his gaze drifted toward the path again. You don't have to talk about it, she said gently. Daniel shook his head. It's all right. I don't often get asked. She smiled faintly at that. Noah yawned, rubbing his eyes. Can we come again tomorrow? He asked. Rachel hesitated. She worked late shifts, long hours. Life did not pause easily. But she looked at Daniel, at the way he sat there, waiting, not asking for anything. We'll see, she said softly. Okay? Noah nodded, satisfied. Daniel stood slowly. I should go. It's getting colder. Rachel stood as well, gathering Noah's mitten from the ground. It was nice meeting you, Daniel. He inclined his head. Likewise. Noah waved. Bye, benchman, he said cheerfully. Daniel smiled for real this time. Good night, Noah. They walked away, their footsteps fading. Daniel stayed a moment longer. Then he checked his watch. 4:52. Later than usual. He left the park feeling something unfamiliar. Not heavier, lighter. The apartment was quiet when Daniel returned. It always was. High ceilings, clean lines, everything in its place. He set his coat on the chair and stood by the window, watching headlights drift below like slow-moving stars. He thought of the boy's voice. You're still here. That night he dreamed of the lamppost and someone standing beneath it. They came back the next day, and the day after that, sometimes for 5 minutes, sometimes for half an hour. Noah talked about school, about his drawings, about how the stuffed dog used to belong to his dad, and how he promised to keep it safe. Rachel listened more than she spoke, but when she did, Daniel learned things. She worked 2 jobs, one at a grocery store in the mornings, another cleaning offices at night. She apologized once for the smell of disinfectant on her hands. I don't mind, he meant it. She told him about Noah's father. Not dramatically, not with bitterness. He died suddenly, heart condition, no warning. Daniel nodded. I'm sorry. She shrugged lightly. I learned how to keep going, for him. Daniel understood that too. They did not speak of the future. They did not name what this was. It was simply time, shared. Then one evening, the park was empty, colder than usual. Daniel arrived at 4:30. He waited. 4:35, 45. He told himself not to think. At 4:50, footsteps echoed. Rachel appeared alone. Her eyes were red. Noah's sick, she said quietly. Fever. Daniel stood immediately. Is he okay? She nodded, but her shoulders trembled. He keeps asking if you're still coming, she admitted. I told him yes. Daniel felt the old ache stir, the one he thought he had learned to live with. I'll tell him I'll be here, tomorrow too. She smiled through tears. I will. As she turned to leave, she paused. Daniel? Yes? You don't know how much this means to him. Daniel shook his head. I think I do. That night he did something he hadn't done in years. He set an alarm. The next afternoon, Daniel arrived early, 4 o'clock. Snow had begun to fall lightly. He stood under the lamppost, hands tucked into his coat. At 4:28, Noah appeared, bundled tightly, holding the stuffed dog. Rachel followed, relief written across her face. "He insisted," she said apologetically. Daniel crouched slightly. "I'm glad you came, Noah." The boy smiled weakly. "I told you, you don't leave." Daniel swallowed. "No, I don't." And under the soft falling snow, beneath a flickering light that had once held only waiting, something new began to take shape. Not loud, not rushed, but real. The snow did not stop. By the end of the week, the park looked different, softer, quieter, like the world had decided to speak more gently. Daniel noticed small changes. Noah started bringing drawings, crayon sketches of the lamppost, the bench, 3 figures standing close together, always under the light. Rachel brought a thermos one evening, cheap plastic, slightly scratched. "Tea," she said, holding it out. "It's nothing fancy." Daniel took the cup. "It's perfect." And he meant it. They never talked about what this was becoming, but it was becoming something. One evening, Noah did not come running. Rachel walked slowly, her shoulders tight. "He asked me something today," she said as they sat. Daniel waited. "He asked why some dads leave," she continued, "and why others don't." Daniel felt the familiar pressure behind his ribs. "What did you tell him?" he asked. Rachel looked at the snow gathering at her feet. "I told him that sometimes adults carry things they don't know how to put down, and sometimes they make choices that hurt people they love." Daniel nodded. "That's true." She hesitated. "He asked about you." Daniel turned slightly. "What did you say?" Rachel met his eyes. "I said you were someone who stayed." Daniel looked away. The word stayed with him. Stayed. That night, Daniel did not go home immediately. He walked the long way, past streets he had not visited in years, past the old building where his father used to work. The lights were on. He stood across the street, hands in his pockets, watching shadows move behind the windows. He had not spoken to his father in over a decade. Not really. There were emails, formal, short. There had been a letter once, written carefully, never sent. Daniel remembered the weight of waiting, and suddenly he was tired of it. The phone rang the next morning. Rachel's name lit up the screen. "Daniel," she said, breathless, "I'm sorry to call so early." "What's wrong?" "Noah collapsed at school. They say it's his heart." The world narrowed. "I'm on my way," Daniel said. The hospital smelled like disinfectant and fear. Rachel sat in a plastic chair, hands clasped so tightly her knuckles were white. Daniel didn't ask if he could sit. He just did. Minutes stretched. Then hours. A doctor finally came. "Congenital condition," he explained, "undiagnosed.
We stabilized him, but he'll need surgery. Rachel nodded, tears silent. I don't have insurance, she whispered. I don't know how. Daniel stood. I'll take care of it. She looked up sharply. No, she said. I can't ask that of you. You didn't, he replied. I'm offering. She shook her head. This isn't your responsibility. Daniel thought of a 9-year-old boy waiting under a lamppost. Yes, he said quietly, it is. The surgery was scheduled for Christmas Eve. Snow fell harder that year. Rachel slept in the chair beside Noah's bed. Daniel brought food, coffee, quiet reassurance. They did not talk about money. They talked about stories. Daniel read to Noah in the evenings, soft voices, familiar tales. On the night before surgery, Noah looked at him. You'll be here tomorrow? He asked. Daniel took his hand. I'm not going anywhere. Noah nodded. Good, he said. I don't like waiting alone. Daniel closed his eyes for a moment. Neither did he. The surgery lasted 6 hours. Rachel paced. Daniel sat still. At last, the doctor smiled. He's strong, he said. He'll be okay. Rachel broke then. Daniel held her as she cried. Not awkwardly, not briefly. Just held her. Later that night, Daniel stepped outside. The hospital courtyard was empty, lit by a single lamppost. He took out his phone, scrolled, stopped, then pressed call. It rang longer than he expected. Yes, a familiar voice answered. Dad, Daniel said. Silence. I'm at the hospital with a boy who reminds me of myself. More silence. I waited for you once, and you didn't come. The breath on the other end caught. I don't want to wait anymore, Daniel said, and I don't want him to either. His father said nothing, but Daniel heard it. Regret. I don't know how to fix everything, Daniel said, but I'm trying. A pause. Then, quietly, I should have stayed, his father said. Yes, Daniel replied. You should have. The call ended. Daniel stood under the light, snow gathering on his coat. For the first time, he felt something settle. Christmas morning arrived quietly. Noah slept, peaceful. Rachel sat beside the bed. Daniel placed a small wrapped box on the table. Inside was a new stuffed dog. Identical. But the old one stayed in Noah's arms. Some things weren't meant to be replaced, only held.
Noah woke up on Christmas morning just before sunrise. The first thing he noticed was the quiet. The second was the light, soft and golden, slipping through the half-open blinds, touching the edges of the room like it was careful not to wake anyone else. He turned his head. His mother was asleep in the chair beside the bed, her head tilted slightly, one hand resting close enough that he could reach it if he wanted to. She looked peaceful for the first time in days. Daniel sat on the other side, still, awake. He had not moved all night. Noah smiled faintly. "Hey," he whispered. Daniel leaned forward immediately. "Hey," he whispered back. "Is it Christmas?" Noah asked. Daniel glanced at his watch. "It is." Noah's smile widened. "I didn't miss it." "No," Daniel said. "You didn't." Rachel stirred, blinking awake. When she saw Noah's eyes open and clear, her breath caught. She stood so fast the chair scraped loudly against the floor, then immediately covered her mouth, afraid she had been too loud. "You're okay," she said, voice breaking. "You're really okay." Noah nodded. "I told you, I'm strong." Daniel smiled. "Yes," he said softly, "you are." They were discharged later that afternoon. Snow covered the city in quiet layers, muting sound, softening edges. Daniel drove them home. Rachel sat in the back seat beside Noah, adjusting his blanket, brushing hair from his forehead, never fully letting go. Daniel watched them in the rearview mirror, and something inside him settled. Not excitement, not relief, belonging. That evening they did not go to the park. Not yet. They sat in Rachel's small apartment instead. The space was modest, warm, lived in. A tiny tree stood in the corner, slightly crooked, decorated with mismatched ornaments, paper stars. A single strand of lights that flickered if you touched the plug just right. Daniel had never seen anything more beautiful. They ate soup and bread at the small table. Noah insisted on lighting a candle. "For Christmas," he said, "and for luck." Rachel hesitated. Daniel nodded. "Carefully," he said. Noah lit it, watching the flame dance. "See?" the boy said. "Light makes things better." Daniel looked at the candle, at the way it pushed back the darkness without effort. "Yes," he said, "it does." Later, after Noah fell asleep on the couch, wrapped in a blanket and clutching his stuffed dog, Rachel sat beside Daniel. The apartment hummed quietly. "I don't know how to thank you," she said. Daniel shook his head. "You don't have to." She studied him for a moment. "You know this changes things. For you." He nodded. "I know. You don't regret it." Daniel thought of the bench, the lamppost, the waiting. "No," he said. "I regret waiting so long." Rachel exhaled, a sound somewhere between a laugh and a cry. "I'm scared," she admitted. "So am I," Daniel said. They shared a small smile. That felt like enough. On Christmas Eve, they went to the park. Snow covered the bench. Daniel brushed it off before Noah could sit. The lamppost flickered on. Rachel poured tea from the same old thermos. They sat together, 3 figures beneath the light. Noah swung his legs. "Daniel," he asked. "Yes? Do you think people come back sometimes, the ones who left?" Daniel thought of a voice on the phone, of regret spoken too late. "Sometimes," he said, "if they're brave enough." Noah nodded. "Okay." He leaned against Daniel's side. Rachel watched them, her eyes soft. "You're not waiting anymore, are you?" she quietly asked. Daniel looked at the path, at the place where he had once stood as a boy. "No," he said. "I'm here." The snow fell gently around them. And under the lamppost, where waiting once lived, something else took its place. Not promises, not certainty, but something far stronger. Presence.